Hi everyone, we've got a full moon in Sagittarius coming up on Thursday, the 23rd of May. Sagittarius, of course, is a mutable sign, and we will be in Gemini season at that point because Gemini season starts on the 20th, which is tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 19th of May at the tail end of Taurus. So we will be in Gemini season. And of course, for the full moon, the sun will be opposite the moon. And this moon, this full moon, could therefore impact the mutable signs. So, of course, Gemini, Sagittarius, as well as Pisces and Virgo. So take this as it resonates, okay? Leave it if it doesn't. But it could heighten the energy for the mutable signs, first of all. Now, when I looked at the chart for this full moon in Sagittarius, for me, it showed me that we're coming to the end of something. And this might resonate with you deeply because, of course, this profound transformation journey that we've been on, this change that we've been experiencing, that's really shifted us into our way of being in terms of our uniqueness, our authentic self, our sovereign self, what we want to manifest for our reality, how we want our physical reality to be. This is then enabling us to understand what we need to detach from. So cycles that need to close out in order to begin these new ones. I will say that 29 degrees, the final degrees that a planet or planetary body can be in, can be very intense. It's just before the planet or planetary body moves into another sign. So it can heighten that energy. And here it feels like it's heightening the energy of endings. We've got Jupiter and Venus, both at 29 degrees. So they are forming a conjunction, different minutes, same degrees. And then we've got Neptune, 29 degrees, okay? And Neptune's in Pisces, at home in Pisces. And there will be a sextile between Jupiter and Neptune. So this is about a powerful activation almost within that ethereal essence, because Jupiter, of course, used to be the original ruler of Pisces before Neptune was discovered. So there is a lot here regarding our connection to our higher self, that source energy that's running through us, our connection to our intuition in that way, and how that is driving forward not only our investment in certain aspects, so it's investment of our energy, our time, our attention, our love, our money, Venus energy. It's driving that forward, but it's also driving forward this expansion, this growth that we want to experience from Jupiter, but the luck that can come from that when we're investing in the right places that are in accordance with our divine truth. Okay, think of that Neptune energy, the spirituality within, the soul essence within, and how we are embodying that. So it's a powerful date for that to be happening because we've got the full moon as well. And we know full moons illuminate certain aspects, but they also help us work with the lunar energy to release. So again, going back to detaching from cycles that need to close out. Of course, if we're aware of those and we understand what we need to release, perfect energy to work with the full moon. And the full moon is Sagittarius. Again, it's mutable. So this is about going with the flow in that way, but also Sagittarius is what have we learned? What have we discovered? It's the quest. It is the journey. And we've been learning a lot with everything that's been going on. So it could be that that's already been illuminated. So you're working with the lunar energy to release. It might be that this full moon is going to illuminate a discovery of sorts in relation to where things do need to end. And it's that reliance on the connection with the soul essence and in terms of the intuition and our higher self, of course, because of what's going on with Jupiter and Neptune. So let's jump into the chart, okay, and we'll see what's going on. But there's certainly a lot relating to expression because the sun will be in Gemini. And there is almost this logical approach to Gemini. It's air energy, but it is mutable. So there is this, flow with communication that can be opened up, the flow with expression, but from a logical perspective. And that's where the mind engages with logic. Of course, we need to rely on the soul essence within our intuition to feel into situations, to understand where we do need to apply that logic. But it can work in harmony if we apply it in that way. And again, what we've discovered with the Sagittarian energy, and that's fire energy. So it's motivating us to do that. So we've got air and fire there in the mix. So let's jump into the chart and I'll cover more about that. So bear with me a second. Okay, and there are a lot of lines on this chart. Okay, there's many more things going on, but just to draw your attention to some key points here. So we've got the moon, there we go, in Sagittarius, 2 degrees, 55 minutes. Okay, and there we've got the sun opposite in Gemini at 2 degrees, because we will be in Gemini season, as I've mentioned. And you can see there straight away, we've got Venus and Jupiter both at 29 degrees, and they are forming this sextile with Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces, and the vertex point and past Fortuna, part of Fortune, are both there at 29 degrees Pisces as well. So this is where I'm saying that it's really, you know, a fated and destined moment for us to understand how our connection with our intuition and that ethereal essence within is driving forward the expansion, not only within our worth and values, Taurus energy, but also how it applies to where we are investing our resources with the Venus energy. Okay, there could be something here to do with love as well, but take that as it resonates. This is about knowing our worth, upholding our values, and allowing the expansion of that to take place. Okay, to not be afraid, to be open to opportunities. That's what the expansion does. It opens us up. So it's our soul essence. It's our, I keep saying soul essence, which I do attribute to the sun, but I really do feel that our soul essence within our intuition is really speaking to us at this moment. And it's a fated, destined time to listen to our intuition and to understand where we do need to open up to these opportunities based on that divinity within. Okay, but 29, so there's 5 aspects here that are 29 degrees, and 5 is all about change. So we are coming to the end of something, just like Neptune is coming to the end of Pisces, Jupiter, Venus coming to the end of Taurus. We're coming to the end of something in order to begin something new. So this is about detachment. And I'll draw your attention first of all to this sesqui square that's going on between Jupiter and Venus with the South Node in Libra. So South Node, of course, where we've come from, and it can pertain to past life stuff if this is resonating for you, but certainly where we've come from, okay, we're moving in the direction of our North Node. So South Node is where we're pulling away from, but we want to still establish that fair foundation. South Node is in Libra. So we want that fairness to be within our foundation, okay? And detaching from that which has gone before, carrying the wisdom forward, but laying that fair, balanced foundation. Now, the sesqui square is indicating a minor challenge here to the energy when it comes to our expansion and our investments, because perhaps we are trying to detach from something that is no longer in alignment with us, but we are still kind of semi-attached, if you like. So we're detaching, but we've not yet fully detached. So that's why it can feel challenging. Okay, so, and it's a minor point here, it can feel slightly challenging because we're wanting to expand ourselves, we're wanting to open up to new opportunities, but we know we've got to close out these things first in order to lay that foundation of balance and fairness. Okay, and also with that as well, Vesta is in the mix because we have got a square from the South Node to Vesta, and there is also a square from Vesta to Chiron. There is also another one that I've not highlighted on here, but Chiron is in square to Ceres, okay, which is also representative of expansion. So we have got here this challenging energy to our expansion that we know about, like I've already told you, that connects to our past in some way, and also connects to our sacred flame, Vesta. But what I did notice is Saturn, who is also in Pisces, House of the Divine, getting us in alignment with our spiritual truth, serving up lessons. Saturn is in trine to Vesta. Okay, so even though it's feeling challenging to detach and to heal our sovereignty through all of this, Chiron in Aries, we are learning the Saturnian lessons. So yes, it feels challenging, but we're actually making Saturn happy because we're learning the lessons, certainly in terms of where our sacred flame is, certainly in terms of what inspires us and what doesn't. We've had to learn those lessons. So we might be detaching from something that we thought was sacred flame energy, but actually isn't, because we've evolved and things change, and we've actually understood who we are at the core. So we want to invest in other aspects, connect with other people. So, you know, our inspiration might be coming from somewhere else, or we might have only just unlocked our inspiration that's been there all along. Whatever it is, it's going to feel challenging to detach from that idea of what shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, in terms of what actually is, what's in alignment with our spiritual truth. So detachment from it, yes, can feel challenging, but we're learning the Saturnian lessons. So that's the positive aspect to take from this. And Saturn doesn't mess around. He's a powerhouse of energy, and he's also in Pisces. So everything I was saying about connecting with our intuition and our higher self, this is about understanding, you know, our higher self is guiding us here, and we're stepping into that new version of ourselves, who is actually our true version of ourselves that we've always been, but we've never known, perhaps. And I know that sounds deep, but with the layering of conditioning and toxicity that can be around, and where we've realized we've got to detach from certain situations that have held us back, even if it's through our own self-sabotage, you know, the shadow aspects that might be coming up, whatever it might be, we've understood that, and now we're working through it. So yes, it can feel challenging. We're still detaching. We're coming to the end of something. It heightens that energy of endings, but we're moving forward, okay, which is positive. Okay. We have got, with the moon here, we've got a sextile to Pluto. Pluto is also in sextile to Neptune, and we know that we've got the Jupiter-Venus sextile to Neptune as well. So it links back to that ethereal essence of our intuition, the connection with that source energy within, the connection to our higher self, and how the moon can motivate us through this moment of what we've discovered, Sagittarius energy, in terms of what we need to transform on a deep level, Pluto, okay, and how that links to what our intuition has been guiding us towards, our higher self has been guiding us towards, and that in turn is allowing for that expansion and allowing us to invest in more areas, connections, projects, whatever it might be, that are more in alignment with our worth and values, okay? Venus is at the end of Taurus, and later on the day of the full moon, so for the UK it will be in the evening, Venus will be in Gemini. So this is why it's profound at this moment, because she's right at the end of Taurus. And with those 29 degrees, I'm saying this is a freeze frame of the cosmos at that time. This is all about endings and how the profound transformation is being guided by these endings, because we're closing out things that are not serving us, stepping into the new. Okay, not only are we in a new zodiac season at this point, this is about the newness that comes from what we've discovered, Sagittarius energy, on our quest, and where we do need to perhaps look at something from two sides with that Gemini energy, and how we can enable that to help guide us forward, because we can look at something from two sides and understand that, okay, that over there was the past, that's taught me this, it's brought me a lot of wisdom, thank you very much. I am now moving towards this because this is my direction, and upholding that sovereignty, but applying that logic in that way through what has been discovered. Okay, now, yes, with the moon and the sun being in opposition at the time of a full moon, there can be that push-pull energy. They're in opposite signs. So it could feel like, okay, I've got to apply logic here, but oh, I want to go off and do this. You know, I want to go on this quest. I want to go and discover this. So it's about bringing it into balance. It's being aware of that and bringing it into balance and allowing the energy to work for you rather than against you in any way. Okay. There is also a trine between Jupiter and Venus and Pluto. So again, the deep transformation, and we've got the sextile between Pluto and Neptune, and Pluto and the moon as well. So this is definitely assisting this deep transformation. But also what I noticed, okay, and this is where commitment and shadow work comes into this, we've got Mercury in Taurus in trine to Juno in Virgo, and we've got Uranus in Taurus in trine to Lilith in Virgo, who is now out of her retrograde. So this is about how change with the Uranus energy is allowing us for this shadow work to really, really get done, you know, but also how the shadow work is enabling the change. The shadow work that we are completing, and again, we look at the bigger picture because this is all part of lessons that we're learning as well and what we're healing here. But the shadow work we've completed is facilitating the change, because we're then understanding in our reality, because Virgo's an earth sign, Taurus is an earth sign. So in our reality, we're understanding what needs to change. And certainly in relation to worth and values, what needs to change? Because do our values need to change? Do we need to have boundaries in place here? What needs to change? So the shadow work is working harmoniously with the change that we're trying to see in our reality. And with our communication and our expression of Mercury, again, from a place of authenticity within knowing one's worth, this is enabling that deeper connection and commitment, Juno, to ourselves as well. It could also be saying that it's allowing for communication to open up more within connections and soul contracts. Okay, so this is supporting the energy, because again, we're detaching from what doesn't serve us. We're becoming more committed to the self. We're allowing our expression to open up when it comes to our worth and values. And this is also what's supporting the expansion and the investment, because we might have realized I've got to invest more time in this situation or in this connection. So that's balancing out the Venus energy, but it's also supporting the change. And it's also supporting the profound transformation. And it's also supporting the fact that that insight has more than likely come from our intuition. So it goes back to that Neptunian essence. Okay. So there is a lot here: endings, detachment, and how we can move forward. How the moon, our emotional home, is supporting us, motivating us to act based on what we've learned and what we've discovered from our intuition. Okay, and how that is allowing us to be more open to opportunities, but also it's providing that inner expansion and growth, which we can then see reflected back to us, as well as where we have been investing our time. So if we're opening up to those opportunities that are in alignment with us, then we're going to receive that Venus energy back. So we're coming to the end of where maybe that's not happened, moving into a new way of being where it's more potential, you know, to happen. There is more potential for it to happen. So this is positive. Okay, this is positive, and it just might feel a bit uncomfortable because we're coming to the end, 29-degree point, but it's fated and destined in relation to this. So let's get on board with our intuition. Let's understand what it is we do need to detach from and work with the lunar energy to support that, or at least be open to the illumination of what we might still need to detach from when it comes to this full moon, because the full moon might show us, but we need to be open to it first and foremost. And again, it all comes from a place of worth and values, because at that point, we've still got Jupiter in Taurus. So that expansion is within our worth and values. Okay. He will be moving into Gemini towards the end of that week. So, you know, that change is also coming. That movement is also coming. So we need to look at the energy of the moment of the full moon and maintain our sovereignty throughout all of this, even if it can feel challenging because of this detachment. Right, let's leave it there. Try and keep it brief for you. You know, there is a lot to cover within astrology. There's many layers to it. I just want to show you this before I end. So this is just to show you the full moon as the event alongside the UK's natal chart. So for us in the UK, this full moon is happening in the 5th house of love. Okay, it's happening in the 5th house of love, and the sun is opposite in the 11th house of connections with others. So there might be a lot to do with detachment, releasing from connections with others based on what we've learned and discovered. Okay, where there is love, where there isn't love. It's all about the Sagittarian energy, what we've discovered, and how that does potentially impact our connections with others. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but certainly where there is love of some kind, because it's the 5th house versus the 11th house here. Okay, connections with others where there is love at the base, and how that push-pull energy could be highlighting stuff for this full moon. And we know that with Chiron in Aries, that's in the house of inner authority and work. And with Neptune, we have got the 9th house. So that is the Sagittarian house. Okay, even though here we've got Pisces and a little bit of Aries as well. So the connection to our intuition is certainly of discovery. And as well as that, the endings, because past Fortuna and Vertex are in the 9th house as well. So it might be a sudden fated, destined realization, discovery of what does need to end, what we do need to detach from. Okay, it could be sudden in that way, because it's like a fated moment at that point. Past Fortuna moves quite fast. So this is why it's significant at this particular moment, 29 degrees Pisces. But we know that the expansion is happening in our connections with others. There is a lot of emphasis on change and our investments when it comes to connections with others. And the sun is in the 11th house as well. So there is that expansive force, soul essence of the cosmos, if you like. And that is kind of opposite the moon. Okay, so this is in terms of what we need to release when it comes to what we've discovered about those connections that maybe are not providing for that expansion that we deserve within our worth and values. The connections that do need to change, the connections where we've been investing too much or too little. Okay, change is needed, and anything that's challenging the soul as well, with the sun energy there. Okay, so just wanted to show you that, to give you that view. Juno and Lilith are in the 3rd house of expression, so there is a lot to do with our authentic expression, and certainly because the sun is in Gemini, so that is mercurial. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about our expression, and maybe we're going to be feeling challenged to actually express ourselves within connections in order to really ensure this change happens. Okay, so it could be detachment from a cycle where, you know, there's been no boundaries in a connection, and maybe there needs to be. So there might be some expression or communication that's needed to put those boundaries in place. One example. Okay, take it as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. Okay, there we go. Right, I've got the Star Codes Astro deck, so I am just going to pick some cards. And I forgot to tell you the time of the full moon. I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning, but it's at 2:53 p.m. for the UK, British Summer Time. By your own time zones as appropriate. Okay, let's see if there's any additional messages from the Star Codes Astro deck for this full moon in Sag, please. Okay, 2 more because I'm feeling 5. Okay, 1 more. There we go. Right. Okay. So we've got Pallas Athena on the bottom. Okay, and that symbolizes love and beauty. Okay, so emphasis on self-love is needed. Okay, that's in the hidden energy. But what we've got here is we've got Juno partnership. So I mentioned Juno, didn't I? South Node, past. So it could be a past life connection here. Mars, so that's like masculine energy. Okay, we've also got the moon. Can't make this up. The moon, and then 1st house arrival. So 1st house of the self. There is some Aries energy here. Okay, because we've got Mars. Mars rules Aries, and we've got 1st house. Aries rules the 1st house in astrology. But really, this is about knowing oneself. Okay, knowing oneself in order, and this is the connection again with our intuition, in order to understand what changes do need to be made. And the moon, because it says perception on here, this is all about our perception of the situation based on our intuition. Okay, where do we need to take action from quite a dominant place? Okay, so to be bold, remember it's sovereignty, regardless of gender, it's masculine energy, so it's the drive to take action. But also perhaps where action is needed in relation to connections, and it could be a past life connection. So when I mentioned about soul contracts, it could be that there is something here that needs to be learned about a past life, when it relates to a connection, some kind of partnership, okay? Some action might be needed, and it could be that something is going to get revealed at the point of the full moon with that illumination. But we need to ensure that there is that essence of the self, okay, at the core. And even though the starting card is Juno and the final card I pulled is of the self, you know, that's kind of like a contradiction, isn't it? Because it's like that's with somebody and that's without. So might be a choice here. But ultimately it's about being driven from the self, from that sovereign place, okay? And in terms of what action might need to be taken, there could be harmony within this connection. There's wisdom to be gained, certainly, because we've got birds here. But this is about, we're trying to move away from the past. So even if it's not past life related, we're trying to move away from the past, carry the wisdom forward. There we go. There's the link, the wisdom. So carry the wisdom forward in order to take the necessary action, okay, to uphold that sovereignty from a place of the self, knowing oneself in that way. And it makes me think of the higher self that I've mentioned. So that connection to the ethereal essence within and connecting into what our higher self is guiding us towards, okay, could be revealed with the moon. That's very, very interesting. Here we go. Right, so I'm sending you love and blessings for this full moon in Sagittarius. Remember, there is this energy of endings, and you know, it's not to be dramatic about that. This is about closing out of cycles, essentially, in order to move to a new cycle. And it's one that we're wanting to manifest. So it's positive, but it just might feel challenging, because detachment from anything, especially if it's like a comfort zone or it feels like a comfort zone, can be very challenging and can feel intense. But if we know ultimately that we are learning those lessons that Saturn is giving us, we've understood, we've got the memo, okay, yeah, I do need to detach from that because it's not serving me, but maybe I do have to use that logical mind, you know, the Gemini energy, to understand how I'm going to do that. Okay, that's how that energy can work for us. Then of course it's putting things in motion, but whilst we're still detaching, it can feel challenging, and especially at this particular point that's going to be heightened with all those 29 degrees going on. Okay, so sending you love and blessings, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.